Welcome back, guys. Alex here with another video. I hope you're well. Now, this is my follow-up video to my unboxing live video that I did a few weeks ago of my prototype rescue arcade machine by Stern. And this is the actual cabinet that Chris Oberth, the late great Chris Oberth, worked and designed the whole game around. This actually came out of his own personal possession. So I'm really honoured to have this in my collection. This will sit alongside my favourites like Sheriff and Sky Skipper as being one of my favourite arcade machines in my collection. And we'll get into Chris in a bit, but I just want to say thank you so much to Phil Campbell, who stepped forward with a monitor tube replacement for this cabinet, because guys, I really did worry that I was never going to get one. I've never had to look for a tube replacement ever in any of my machines. So I was really worried to find a one that was going to fit this. And Phil stepped forward with a lovely Wells Gardner. Had a little tiny bit of screen burn on it, but mate, you don't see it at all under this beautiful tinted glass. So Phil, thank you so much for that, mate. I really do appreciate it. Also, I've got to say a big thank you to Mark as well. Mark repairs a lot of machine. He was also involved with the Sky Skipper project that we did in reverse engineering that board. Mark came forward and kept the original chassis. We just swapped in Phil's new tube, and also Mark repaired some of the chips on the board as well, because we were missing a lot of the sounds. In fact, we were missing all the sounds, so he sorted that out as well. So Mark, thanks again, mate. You're an absolute genius. And he's also made the picture look crisp, so crisp. It looks so good. I'm so chuffed with it, guys. I really am. So here we are. It's now working. It's in the collection. So I want to start by talking about Chris Oberth and a little bit of his time with Stern, because Chris started his career, I think, in Apple computers. He designed a lot of games for the Apple computers, and I think he worked for Milton Bradley. I think he designed some handheld games and stuff like that. And Chris came to Stern after the guy who designed Berserk left. I can't remember his name, but I can't remember his name, but Berserk was a big hit for Stern. And I don't know what was going on and why he left, but there was a little bit of controversy about that. But he left, and they brought Chris Oberth in to take over and design a lot of the games for Stern. So that was quite a big thing, quite a big step up for Chris to take over from the successes that they'd had there at the company. They also had, Scramble was a big hit. Although it was a Konami game, Konami licensed it to Stern and they distributed the game. So two big hits for Stern, and Chris had to step up to that challenge. And I think he really did. I think the games that he brought out, which was, I think his first was Anteater, obviously Rescue, Tasmania, Minefield and Armoured Car were the games that Chris worked on for Stern. But unfortunately for Chris entered the company when the American video game market hit the crash. So, demand on these machines, these games were on the downward slope. So unfortunately, Chris never really got to see any big successes with any of his games, but that wasn't his fault, because all of his games are really, really good in my opinion. I just think it was bad timing on Chris's part, really. But here in the UK, it was a totally different matter, because we didn't have experienced that video game crash. We had the home computer market like the BBC Micro, Sinclair Spectrum and the Commodore 64, all making headways into the market, making fantastic games. And also we had a thriving arcade community as well. And this is where I played my game. I played Rescue at my local arcade. So, Chris's work got out there to the right people, in my opinion. It got to people like me, and brought a lot of enjoyment for kids like me back in the day. Even though, he didn't see the successes that he'd wanted, I think, Chris, mate, you made a big impression on a lot of us kids back in the day. And if you're up there listening now, mate, I really, really appreciate it, because, mate, this game here has brought so much fun into my life, and I really do appreciate it. If you're listening, it's a brilliant, brilliant game. It really, really is. So after that, Chris, I think he left the company. I can't go into too much detail about all these other stuff that he designed, because it's not something that really interests me. It's really just the arcade stuff that Chris designed that I'm interested in, to be honest with you. But, you know, he made 2 twin stick games, Minefield and Rescue. Tasmania was a little bit like Berserk, a cross between Berserk and Robotron. Antietam, I haven't really played Antietam, so I'm not really quite sure what that's like. But these are fantastic games, they really, really are. And this game, when I played it as a kid, growing up in my hometown Twickenham, which is the home of English rugby, there was a place in Twickenham High Street called Dazzle. And it was basically a fancy dress shop, but also they had jokes in there that kids could buy, like stink bombs. And do you remember those old chewing gums? You used to pull the chewing gum out and snap your finger. Things like that, fake poo and stuff like that. We used to love it in there as kids, especially at the back where they had a little arcade. They had about 10 games on rotation. This, I remember being in there for a very long time, and this used to sit next to another one of my favourites, a very rare game, Atari's iRobot. I remember playing that game back in the day. And they had games like Frogger, Track and Field and Kung Fu Master. But this one was one of my favourites. And I think it's because it's so accessible. You know exactly what you've got to do as soon as you turn the thing on. It's called Rescue, so you know you've got to rescue people. And it's, you know, other games can be a little bit convoluted to begin with. You're not quite sure how you get the points and stuff like that. But this is just so simple. It's almost like a twin stick Defender, you know. It's so, so cool. So yeah, I pumped a lot of money back into this game back in the day. So to get this into the collection, guys, is something else, because I did a video just before Christmas in my Jammer cab. It's an electrical in MIDI, and that's probably the cabinet I used to play on back in the day. We didn't have the dedicateds as much as you did in America, guys. I mean, you got all the best ones over there in the USA. What we got in the UK were what we call chip shop jammer cabs, you know, and they put probably a bootleg game in there. That's probably what I played Rescue on, a bootleg game. But it worked just as well. In fact, that's what I've got running in my electrical in MIDI. And to be honest with you guys, that's what I thought I was going to have. And I was quite happy with that. Just having a bootleg Rescue game running in an electrical in MIDI, and it works perfectly fine. So I did that video on that game, and then one of the family members of Chris Oberth, Tom, contacted me on that video. And basically his message was, I've got a prototype of Rescue, would you be interested? Now, I do get some funny comments on YouTube, guys, I tell you that. And I thought this was maybe a wind-up. So I kind of dismissed it at first, but then we got talking, and then we became friends on Facebook, and he started showing me pictures of Chris Oberth and interviews that he'd done, and telling me a little bit of history about the game. And then I was all in, right? I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, and that he'd contacted me. You know, I mean, what are the chances of that? You know, just through me doing one video, it's absolutely incredible. So anyway, he said, you know, what are you going to offer me? So I offered him a sum, and he agreed. Tom's great to deal with. Tom, I know you're watching this, mate, and you were fabulous to deal with. But obviously, he had to consult Chris's immediate family, and they wanted to put it on eBay, which is fair enough. You know, you want to get the most out of it, I guess. We all want that, especially when times are hard. So, you know, there was no problem with that at all. I just said to Tom, can you send me a link to it when it's on eBay? So it went on eBay about a week later, and no one else bid on it. I was the only one. There was a thread on Clov, but I think people were a little bit late to it, to be honest with you, and I weren't going to tell anyone. So the last day I put a bid on, and I won it for the same amount of money that I offered it to them in the first place. So in the end, it all worked out for me. It was destined to be in my collection. That's the way I saw it. So from there on in, Tom Got it all wrapped up. Tom, you wrapped it up really, really well. And I think the damage to the monitor could have been anything really. Could have just been a really sharp drop, or it could have been a change in the temperature, because you know what glass is like. It could have been anything really, but it's all working now. It got here. It's all working. It's in the collection, and I've got to thank Tom for all his help and his good communications, and all of Chris's family. If you're watching this, guys, you don't know how much this game means to me, and how much it will do to the community, because this game is going to go to the Cambridge Computer Museum, where I'm going to show it off, and people are going to get to play it how it was meant to be played back in the day, and hopefully bring more love into the game of Chris's fantastic work. It really, really is. So, what else can I say? I mean, I'm just so chuffed. So what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to take the camera. I'm going to show you a bit more of the cabinet, and then we're going to do a gameplay of this fantastic game, Rescue. So here we go, guys. Now, first thing you notice with this machine is the control panel. Let's have a look at this first of all, because this is what sets it off really distinctively from any other rescue game, is the fact that you can see they've been playing around with the positioning of the controls. And unfortunately for me, it was always my complaint that my jammer cab had the sub bomb button too far away from this stick, and unfortunately it's half an inch still too far away. But you know what, guys, I played this today and got my top score ever on it, which was 128,000. So I've already got used to the position of the button, and I'm not going to change it. This is how it is. This is how it's meant to be. Nothing is going to get changed on this cabinet whatsoever. So as you can see, the control panel is basically some paper, black and white paper, first design, and it's got a piece of Perspex over the top. And you can see here, I don't know whether they've used this Perspex on another game, or whether they just thought maybe the controls should be further down, then realised it should be further up. I'm not sure, but you can see there's a hole cut out of the Perspex. Maybe that was just a big mistake. But you can see it's got 1 and 2 player. It's got the sub bomb red button, which you use for blowing up the submarines. That's the only time you'll use that button. And you've got the flight direction controls for your helicopter. Up here you've got in typo on a piece of paper, shoot the sharks and boat to protect the paratroopers and gain points. Press sub bomb to bomb the sub. Play the night mission every 3rd level. So every 3rd level you get the night mission. And on this side it reads, all the red helicopters are enemies. Avoid crashing with them and shoot to destroy. Rescue the paratroopers before they get eaten by sharks or run over by boats. Pick them up by cruising low. When the island appears, land. So that's basically your objects of the game. Now those instructions changed on the finished cabinet, and I cut now to a control panel that's regularly available on the internet. You can see this picture of rescue control panel, and this seems to be the one that they went with in the end. As you can see, it's completely different. Now, what I love about this game is a twin stick shooter. It's got a fantastic monitor now. Sorry about the light, guys. I've struggled all day to get the right lighting in here. Got reflection all over the place. The marquee at the top is a really big marquee. In fact, the marquee wraps around the top of the cabinet and screwed in at the top. I've never seen one like that actually before. And then if we move around here, you can see the T-moulding's got that nice leathery effect, which I like. It's all in good condition as well. It doesn't feel brittle. Still feels nice and soft, that plastic. And then we've got the side art, which is really cool. It's got this like Second World War art style drawing. You can see the paratrooper there looks pretty distressed because he's about to land in the water with a shark. And that's a pretty cool picture of a shark. He looks pretty menacing, doesn't he? And then you can see the helicopters battling it out in the sky. Really, really cool. There's a big scratch down here. Looks like a letter R, but you know, it's been moved about. It's 40 years old, guys. And then if we move around this side, we've got no side art, and that's because it was never put on. And Tom kindly sent me the original side art for that side that was never put on. So I've got that, which I'm probably going to frame actually and put up in my new games room, which is really cool. Just leave this cabinet as it is. And then we move down here to the front. We've got the coin door, which is lit up. It's got some bulbs in there, but you can't hardly see. I don't know what that is, just some numbers at the front there. Got the keys with it. The bulbs all working. And on this coin door, it's got Tasmania. So this is a Tasmania coin door, okay, which they would have had in stock in the company, laying about. And in here, I don't know if you can see the light's pretty poor. But that coin box is actually from a Frenzy arcade machine. It's got a Frenzy written on the top there. I don't know if you can see, the light's pretty poor. So yeah, they just got bits of other games and put them together into this prototype, which is pretty damn cool. So this cabinet, guys, I mean, Stern made many games in this cabinet. Minefield, Tasmania, and the one that most people convert to from a rescue is Tutankhamun, which is another twin stick shooter, and that's probably why a lot of them got converted. I think that was probably a bigger selling game. To me, I don't like that game at all. I don't get on with it at all. This is far superior game over Tutankhamun, in my opinion. And anyone that is thinking of converting a rescue to Tutankhamun, please don't. This is an awesome, awesome game. So what I'm going to do now is just show you where the PCB is. It's going to turn the machine off and open up the door. Right, so let's open up the door. This is great having this sliding out drawer. Just put on this here, and there you can see power supply and PCB. Really neat and tidy. Let's just slide that back in. Put the door back on. And then I'll just show you quickly around the back of the cabinet. So there's the back of the cabinet, guys. I've given this a good clean. It's had a good going over. There was a lot of, you know what you get with cabs that have been standing around for quite a long time, a lot of grease, a lot of dirt where hands have been on there. So I gave it a good clean. It's come up really nice, actually. And there's the back of the monitor. The new monitor's quite dark in there. Not a lot to see. But Phil, thank you so much for that, mate. So cool. It's just an empty box down there. You can't see, it's pitch black. But there you go, guys. I mean, the cab itself is actually in really good condition. Look at that. So cool. Just apart from that little scratch down there. So when I have this cabinet in the arcade, I'll probably have it facing at I have it on the end so you can see the artwork. And it'll probably go next to Robotron. Have the two twin sticks together. Just one last thing I nearly forgot to mention, but the actual finished product, the finished game that they put out on location actually had a jack socket up here, 1.5 jack socket, so you could plug your headphones in, which this is missing. So this would have just been a stock cabinet which they would have used for all of their games, and just added the control panel side up Marquee. But either they added this later on, so it would have just meant them drilling a hole out here and putting a jack in here, or they made the games later on with it already done. But guys, if any of you out there have got a rescue arcade machine, or know of any other Stern arcade machines with a jack socket for some headphones, please let us know in the comments below. And I'd love to know if anyone else has a rescue arcade machine, just to compare these notes and my machine with yours. Would be fantastic to hear from you. Right, so what I'm going to do now, guys, set the camera up and have some gameplay. Right, guys, so at the top you'll see OBE. That's Chris Oberth, okay? That's Oberth's top score in there, which is 10,000, which is pretty easy to beat, Chris. Doesn't take me long to beat 10,000. In fact, every 10,000 you get an extra life in this game. So you can, you can keep going for quite a while, to be honest with you, but it does get very difficult around about level 4. So let's just explain the game a little bit then. So you're controlling a helicopter, and for shooting other helicopters you get 250 points, sharks 75, submarine 125, and a ship 180. As you can see, the paratroopers are coming out of the sky and they land in the sea, and you've got to pick them up. At the same time, you're getting shot at by the helicopters. Now, the key to getting a good score on this is waiting. I know it sounds silly, but waiting for the helicopters to actually shoot at you, because you get an added bonus of 1,000 points every time you're shot under fire. So if you pick up the guys in the sea when there's no one around, no helicopters and nothing, you're not going to get that extra 1,000 point bonus. So it pays to wait around to get shot. Just wait till they've taken one shot and quickly position yourself, pick the paratrooper up, and you get the 1,000 points. So it's got that excellent element of risk and reward already in the game. That's what makes it fantastic. It's got wicked parallax scrolling, early parallax scrolling that you didn't find very often in these around about that time back in the day. It looks so cool, and the game kind of rotates round. There's no end. It's just like a big circle. You go round and round, so you can keep coming back to your man. If you just keep going right, you come back. A little bit like Defender, it plays like that. You can see Chris's name there at the bottom. You start off with 3 lives, extra life every 10,000, as I've said. You get the sharks that eat your paratroopers up, so it's best to shoot them as quickly as you can. Also, you get boats that shoot at you and also run over your paratroopers in the water. And also you get the submarines that shoot at you as well, which are worth 125 points. But they don't run over the people in the sea. So there's a lot of points to grab here, guys, a lot of different things. And you start off, you'll see me play in a minute, just be 1 helicopter or 2 helicopters. And as you get further and further into the game, you get like 4 attacking you, and boats, and sharks, and submarines. So it's got a lot there, guys, for the experienced player. So what I'm going to do now is coin up. And let's see if I can get 100,000, which I got this morning. Let's have a go. So I'm going to wait. He's shooting at me. If I pick him up, I get rescue under fire. So when you finish the level, you'll get that added 1,000 points. Okay. So I'm moving left, right, and the right stick is directional fire. And I'm taking him out. You can fly into the paratrooper, you chop him up, and he'll fall into the sea. So you've got to be careful of that. There's 2 coming on the horizon. What I normally do is take 1 out and leave 1 in the air, so it's not so difficult for you to pick the paratrooper up. Taking them all out, and now I land on an island. Mission 1 done. I got an added bonus of 2,000 for rescuing them under fire. Right, I've got a shark in the water now. Just going to wait, kill the shark, take one of these out, and then rescue. You can do that pretty easy enough for the first levels. Later on it gets really hard. Oh, I got hit already. Not good. Don't normally lose a life under 10,000. Well, I'm trying to explain the game. See, the shark's eating the man in the sea. Now, I won't get an added bonus because I didn't pick him up under fire. Get rid of that shark before he eats him. Oh, I got hit again. I'm not playing too well. Not playing too well. Extra life. Just love the power of that scroll, it looks so good. A bloody shark keeps eating my man. You've got to get him out of the water as quick as you can. Right, land on the island, mission 2 done. 3,000 bonus. Night mission now. We've got a submarine now, I can bomb him. Another extra life. Oh, submarine got me. Oh, just missed. Land on the island quickly. Oh, that was lucky. Up to 25,000. Added bonus. Right, now this is a bonus level. Got to pick up as many as I can. Now normally I can only pick up about 4. Oh, 5. That's pretty good. Extra life as well. Now I've got 3 helicopters. Land on the island quick. Up to 37,000. Still got 3 lives. Oh, it's getting hectic. Oh, it's getting hectic. I had trouble getting that submarine out of the way there. Extra life. Oh, I missed him. Oh, he got run over. Oh my god. Oh, just missed me. Oh. Land on the island quick, no! Oh. Just. Another life. Oh, chop the guy up. Oh, collided. 51,000. Oh, he ran him over. Dirty. Oh, he done it again. Wow. Last life. Got him. There's the island, snake on it. One more to get. Yes, he made it. Off mission 6. Should be up to 60,000. 60,000 extra life. Right, another bonus level. Nice, 5 men again. Another life. Oh, chopped him up, man. It got destroyed. 70,000. Oh, took me out the sky. Last life, guys. Oh, got all 3 of them there. Oh, 76,000. I'm quite happy with that, to be honest with you, especially if it's on camera. Got to Lieutenant. There we go. Top of the list. Sorry, Chris. Knocked you down to 2nd place. 76,000. As I said earlier, I got 128,000 on this earlier today. So that's it, guys. Rescue. What did you think? Awesome game. Absolutely love it. Fantastic. For me, it's a twin stick defender. Great game. Absolutely love it. So, guys, I've come to the end of the video now. I just want to say again, thank you so much to Tom and all of the Oberth family for making this happen. I really appreciate it, and I hope the legacy of Chris will continue on, and I'll make sure it will by taking this arcade to the Cambridge Museum and maybe some other events as well, so many other people will get to enjoy his game for the first time. You know, it deserves it. It really is. So guys, thank you so much. Thanks again to Mark. Thanks again to Phil. Really appreciate it. And guys, give it a go on MAME. If you've got the twin stick set up, give it a go on MAME. It really is cool. Anyway, that's it. End of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I say this is my last video in this house. I will be moving into my new arcade on the 26th. Can't wait. That will be my next video. That's it, guys. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.